so I'm sure he wants to get back to doing some fun things. But like I said, we really appreciate it. This is a different time, and we don't want to wait the 6 weeks because we know a lot of our organizations and kids and families are really itching to get back on the field. So we have been trying to move this stuff along in a safe, responsible manner. And I feel like we're at that point today with soccer and lacrosse, and that's what we're here to speak about. I also want to hopefully get your vote of approval for the reopening of skate parks, playgrounds, and splash pads as well. We can get to those as soon as we discuss soccer and lacrosse. As these two sports are being lumped together because although the sports are different, when you look at the risk and the nature of the sport regarding COVID, they are very similar. It's kind of like baseball and cricket. We went ahead and we lumped in cricket into the baseball protocol because essentially the same level of risk, the same type of formation when we talk about two teams competing on the field and what the sport actually looks like. So staff has worked diligently on this plan. It has already been reviewed by our facilities director, who is a part of the COVID task force under the county administrator. It was approved by RISC. It is currently being reviewed by the county attorney's office, and now it is at your guys' level. I'm not sure if you all had a chance to review what was sent out earlier, but it was provided, and we are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Hey, Rick. Now, I noticed the first thing it said reopening of amenities before we went returned for lacrosse and soccer. Are those different? Are those not this particular, but
So the amenities we're looking to reopen are the playgrounds, splash pads, and skate parks. These were reviewed by our health advisors about a month or two ago, and they agreed that these are outdoor amenities. They're out in the sun, and they're low risk. So they support the reopening of these amenities. And the process has been throughout this pandemic that we bring it to you guys before submitting our recommendation to county administration. So we would like your vote of approval on those amenities as well today.
Okay, so let's start off with, since it's on the agenda first, with the amenities. Rick, you had your hand up, so I'll go ahead and call you. I think you're on mute.
Okay. I was just wondering, Rick Valdez, if we had the medical recommendation as well from Dr. Holt and the USF doctors. So I was really asking it as in general, whether for soccer and for the amenities. Have we talked to them? Because I didn't hear you mention that.
We do have their support for the amenities for the skate parks, playgrounds, and splash pads. They have not given us any support regarding contact sports. We didn't talk to them about soccer specifically. When we spoke to them last time, which was about 4 weeks ago, they supported the return of baseball and softball, and they chose not to discuss any contact sports until the end of September.
Okay, and this would probably beg the question about the people who had talked at the last meeting about is football going to be the same if soccer and lacrosse? So is the strategy here to recommend? You're asking the board to recommend the opening.
I'll do it here. Thanks. I'm going to turn off the speaker if I can't find my earphone.
No, somebody else is talking. Anyway, I guess my point is, will we still wait on football for opening up soccer and lacrosse for the medical recommendation?
Yes, sir. That's the plan at this time. When we put these different sports into buckets Football is in the highest risk bucket, where soccer and lacrosse fall into a moderate risk bucket, and baseball is the lowest risk bucket. That's why we started with baseball and softball first. Now we're moving to soccer and lacrosse. We realize that these sports, they do involve limited contact, but it's not quite the same as football, where each play is constant contact. Or maybe not constant contact, but there's a lot more contact than soccer and lacrosse.
Okay, yeah, I just kind of want to wait and hear what the discussion is then about the differences. So that's all for me for right now. Thanks.
Thanks, Rick. First, I want to welcome Dexter and Harold, who have joined us. And next hand raise is, I believe, Greg.
Thanks, Anthony. I got to click on a couple of things, apparently. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. One thing that Rick mentioned is that we're trying to review these in sequence as we get more and better information. One of the challenges, he didn't mention it, but it is something that we're very mindful of. And the Board of County Commissioners has expressed deep concern about reopening schools. We don't have a dog in that fight, but we are expecting, because the populations who use our youth sports and those who attend school are very much the same people. So we're going to be monitoring through that first week to see what level of infection, if any, occurs. And we'll have a better handle once we get through that first week to 2 weeks as to what's going to happen with the schools. There have been a number of cases around the country where after the first couple of weeks, they've ended up shutting down because the caseload is just too high. We're concerned about that, but not overly concerned. I think that's why Rick said, when you start looking at the different types of buckets, we felt it was pretty important to limit what we would term high risk. So Rick and his team, in my view, have really done an outstanding job of trying to take a very measured approach to this thing. And I know, again, that's not going to make everyone happy, but we have to take measured steps in order to make sure that we try and keep as many people safe as we can. So it's definitely on the top of our minds. We want to reopen everything, as I said at our last meeting, but it's something that we have to do prudently and with some forethought. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions, board members?
I would just like to add, Anthony, if I may. In addition to these guidelines and protocols, we will be assigning staff to each one of the locations where soccer and lacrosse are being played. And we will be providing the sports organizations with the proper PPE, including the touchless thermometers as necessary to conduct the required health screenings and temperature checks. And we'll be able to pay for these items and this additional staff through CARES Act funding. So yes, sir, go ahead.
I was saying, as far as going out to the parks and checking to make sure that they're following what they agree to, do you have additional people for that with any of this funding, or you're still trying to use the same staff?
No, we will be hiring additional people that will be paid for out of the CARES Act funding.
Okay.
Through the end of the year. So currently we are using our sort of inspectors, so staff that we've reassigned to be like compliance inspectors that are traveling around to the different athletic sites to ensure compliance. But now that we are moving to this next step in soccer and lacrosse, where we're actually going to allow contact, games and scrimmages, we're going to assign staff to each one of these parks.
How are you asking, or how are you communicating, for example, any signage for people that might go out to one of the park and see that there is a lot of non-compliance, to be able to report that easily to your group, so it isn't that you just have to see things only when you show up to one, but actually get eyes from people that happen to be attending and feel very uncomfortable if things aren't being followed?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it because it's not something I had in my notes to cover. But we recently were able to get a new number it's 866 Park. We wanted to get a number that's very easy for people to remember. So we're going to be putting up signs with this number for that people can call whenever there's a concern. You know, kind of like you hear our sheriff say it all the time, see something, say something. Well, that's exactly what we want people on our parks to do. If you see something that doesn't look right or doesn't feel right with you, even if it's not, you know, COVID compliance related, we want people to know that there's a number to call to report these things. And right now, we receive concerns all the time that they can go to the county website and submit something right there online, or, you know, they call our main office number, but our office number isn't something that's easy to remember. So I directed staff to get with Verizon and identify a number that's very easy for people to remember, and that's what they came up with. So we're actually really excited. That's why I'm glad you asked that question. So 866 Park will now kind of be our new number. It'll be on signage, and I think that's something that people can remember and pick up the phone and call us. We want to know what's going on out there so we can address it.
That's
And
great.
they can actually text on that number too. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Yeah, for those of you who don't have a phone in front of you, that's 2725.
Hey, Rick, I think Anthony's question was we want to be specific about people who are non-compliant. So I think our signage you need to indicate, and I think it will, that people that are observed not following the regulation, this is the number to call, or not following the orders that we put in place. So although it's a number that they can call for anything related to parks, it's not in place, but I think we'll put some specific language in there as it relates to the COVID requirements.
Yes, sir.
Great.
And we will also have a staff on site that is, you know, visible with the Hillsborough County shirt on or what have you. And hopefully the intent of that staff being on site is to ensure that everyone is in compliance. So we're definitely thinking about these things.
Great. I don't see any other hands. Any other board member questions? Greg and Rick, your hands are still up. I don't know if that was from before or if you had.
Yeah, it's an old hand. My bad. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mine is new, Anthony.
Okay, right. Rick T.
I just wondered if I could ask Rick how soon the soccer and lacrosse would open up. I know the school just opened up yesterday, and you know, I was kind of waiting to see what happened with school, maybe before we went any further, especially since we're not going to be able to hang our hat on any medical advice here. So how fast is soccer scheduled to begin? If if everybody goes forward.
I'm looking at probably a 2-week time frame. Once we send these guidelines and protocols out to the league, letting them know that they are able to return to scrimmages or games, they have to create their plan, submit their plan to us. We have to review it and then approve it. In the meantime, as I mentioned, we're working on hiring staff to be at each one of these locations. We already have 7 or 8 of those staff members on board. But to be reasonable, I think we're looking at 2 weeks before scrimmages or games actually start. Could be a little bit sooner. And for some organizations have already chosen not to open this fall. So some sooner, some later.
Yeah, that was my other question, because in baseball, we had all of the surrounding counties already in competition. What do we have as far as soccer goes in the same counties that we looked at for baseball?
So Pasco is already doing soccer. Polk is doing soccer. There are some areas like Dunedin and Largo that are already doing soccer. Clearwater is on the same timetable as we are. They're looking for September 15th as their return date. I just talked to their assistant director this morning, and I would have to check on Sarasota County because I'm not sure. Plant City will probably look to follow us. Jack and I have been working very closely together. And City of Tampa, although they got out to a head start on us with baseball and softball, they've been a little bit slower now to catch up. So that's the information I have currently.
Okay.
Dave had his.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I didn't know if Dave might have some additional information. He had raised his hand.
Yes, just wanted to share with baseball and softball. There's about 22 programs. They're slowly coming in the process with their plan and whatnot that I'm reviewing. We've just got a handful in so far, and we have about 3 or 4 programs that have elected not to have a fall season. They're just going to wait till the spring. So, once the guidelines are sent out, they come up with their plan. They send it back to athletics. We review it, and then we'll give them the heads up when they can begin. So for baseball and softball, we made that announcement, and they're coming in a little slow, but they are starting to come in. But again, some of the leagues have decided to go ahead and continue to do what they're doing and not play games. It's really up to them.
Rick, if you want to jump back in. Rick T, regarding your questions, did they answer all your questions?
Well, I'm almost there. I'm sorry to ask so many questions, but I'm a little more.
No, absolutely.
A little slower for the soccer without the doctors as I was for the baseball. So I was wanting to hear what the surrounding counties are doing. And I was wondering, obviously, and maybe Greg or Dexter can jump in here, if not the staff, but if we have in 2 weeks some real problems with the schools, which everybody is keeping their eye on, we could always readdress this at that time, I suppose, right?
Absolutely. And that is in the guidelines. It is subject to update, and plans may be required to be revised as appropriate. And, it could be that if we experience significant outbreaks, we just decide to take a step back. And we've seen that happen in other areas throughout the state where we've moved to the next step, and it was like, whoa, maybe we moved too fast. Because there's so much uncertainty with this virus, none of us really know what's going to happen. I know right now we're on the right track, and the numbers continue to come down to where we want them to be. But to your point, anything could happen that would require for us to change our track.
Okay, yeah. As long as everybody knows that we have to stay flexible on this. We can get back together if we see problems in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's a great point. Reinforcing what Rick said, because it's a very fluid situation, and because I know that you all want to hear reports back, we will commit, at least on a monthly basis, to send you out something. Written form, how we're doing, something like that. It's not going to be exhaustive, but we do want to try and keep you informed. We do that with the Board of County Commissioners. We do meet every week. The infection rates are discussed, the number of cases are discussed. We are, knock on wood, on a downward slope, and our infection rate at this point is a little bit over 7%. It was a week and a half ago over 9%. Back in the beginning of June to the middle of June, it was around 14 to 15%. So you can see that we are seeing declines in that, but that's no guarantee. That's one of the reasons why, and Rick, I appreciate your questions greatly, because the school district, I know they're under tremendous pressure. The state wants to try and get back to normal, and I don't fault the state for that, honestly, because I know we all want to get back to normal as much as we can. But as I said earlier, we need to be prudent about that, and we need to take measured steps. So we think at this stage, this is the best way for us to address the situation, knowing, and this is what we'll tell the leagues too, knowing that we may have to take a step back if we start seeing a lot of infections. We had a couple of cases in our summer camp. Rick and his team had planned for that. They took the appropriate measures, and things kept going without a hitch, really. So I'm confident that staff is going to be able to do the same thing in working with the leagues at this point.
Okay.
Joe, you had your hand up?
Yes, like Rick, I have some heartburn moving without the doctor's approval, but I do think this plan has extensive oversight, and you have the circuit breakers where you can move very quickly if anything goes amiss. So that brings me around where I think this is responsible. The parents want it. It's good for the kids. You know, there's no good choices during this time, but I think y'all have done a good job of coming up with a plan that will allow us to react quickly if anything does go off the rails.
Yeah, that's an important thing for me too, because I know that one of the big issues is, for example, with baseball, softball, as soon as they get the approval, the big expense they have is ordering uniforms. So if they go out, spend that money getting ready to start, and then the cases start going up again, for example, because school's open, and we pull that, then they have to spend all that money, and the parents are going to be saying, my kid never even played. You know, why shouldn't I get a full refund? And it gets into those issues. So I think we just need to be very clear to them that this is what we're intending to do now, but understand if we see things moving in a bad direction, that we may have to pull it, and we understand that they may expend for uniforms and not be able to play if things really go badly.
And if you would like, we can add some stronger language in regards to that in these return protocols.
I believe that's probably a good idea.
Yes, absolutely agree. We tried to make it as clear as we can to all folks when we reopen something. We've done that with everything that we've reopened for county government. And I presume the cities have done that as well. There is no way to 100% eliminate risk. And we've tried to make clear to everybody, these are the safeguards that we expect you to follow, that we're requiring you to follow. But ultimately, the decision whether to proceed or not has to be with the leagues. We can offer the facilities under certain conditions, but they're the ones who need to talk with the parents and find out whether or not they're comfortable. And they're the ones who have to assume some risk in this as well. So, I mean, I think Joe said it earlier, it's as good as we can do under the circumstances. This is uncharted territory. We don't want to completely shut everything down again, but we do need to be mindful that everybody is trying to work together to solve this problem. So we'll emphasize that again, Anthony. We'll make sure people understand that, you know, and maybe that's why some folks decided not to move forward with fall ball this year, because they decided it wasn't worth the risk. And that is completely their prerogative. All we know is that we have facilities, and if they're maintained in a specific way, that we think folks can be as safe as they can be.
Okay. I don't see any other hands up. Are we ready to bring these issues up? Dave, was your hand up, or did you just took it off from before?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Greg.
Okay.
The leagues that have chosen not to move forward with the league is because of the uniforms, like you had mentioned and whatnot. They're just going to continue to do the skills and drills and practices throughout because they don't want to take that chance. So that's why we've had a few that have decided not to play games.
Makes sense. Okay, if there's no other questions, does anyone want to make a motion on the reopening of amenities? We'll take that one first.
I'll move forward. Shall we vote for it?
I'm sorry, who was that?
It's Aaron. I say we.
Okay, Aaron.
I move that we.
Okay, Aaron made the motion to open up the amenities, and Joe seconded it. Great. Anyone opposed? Please let us know now. Okay, we have 6 board members, 4 with Jack not here, so it passes. Okay, next up is return to competition for lacrosse and soccer. If anyone wants to make a motion, and if you want to, in that motion, state that we want stronger wording. I don't know if in the motion we need to be very specific regarding what that stronger wording is, as far as us having the ability. Go ahead. Who is that?
I would make that motion with the additional safeguards that we discussed in this meeting.
Okay.
I'll second.
Who said second?
Earl Jackson.
Okay, oh, great. All right, so Joe made the motion, Harold second. Anyone opposed? All right, no one opposed. That's 6 members for, and Jack not in the meeting, so everyone voting for it. Next item on our agenda is board action, which we don't have anything because we'll do all the minutes at the regular meeting. Board member comments. The one comment I had, and I just thought of this because I happened to see, I'm on a Little League board, and I happened to see the numbers come out regarding how many people have registered, and I was shocked at how low they were. So it also was before late registration, which they do get a number of people for late registration, but I think it would be very interesting for us to get feedback from, I know we asked them for information later, but maybe before our next vote to kind of get some feedback from some of these leagues as to what their, for example, with baseball, softball, what their signups were for, what is this, last spring or last fall, last spring, and then the same thing the year before. So, and the one that I looked at could have been a third of what it normally was. So it sounds like there are a number of parents that, even though the league is going forward, they're just not comfortable with it and are deciding not to sign up for this year. So that may help in the distancing part because there aren't going to nearly be as many people packing the parks as usual. Any other board member comments? I see a hand up.
Just
Allison,
a real quick comment, Anthony, on that. I wanted to commit that staff will provide you that information that you've asked for. We'll conduct as good a survey as we can before your next board meeting of groups as to why they decided either to go forward or not go forward. I think it's really good information for you guys to have. So thanks for asking for it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Joe, you had your hand up?
Just want to double check. When we voted, did we vote for the amenities as well? Have we cleared that, or do we need to make a vote on opening up the splash pads?
Yep. Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, but we voted for the amenities first, and then we voted for return to competition for lacrosse and soccer second. Is that what is in your notes, Allison?
That's what I have. And actually, my hand was up because I just wanted to clarify the language on the motions. So,
okay.
So the motion, I have Aaron made a motion to, is it to recommend the opening of amenities? Is that what the motion was?
Yeah, to move forward with opening them.
Okay.
Okay, to recommend, I'm going to put recommend the opening. And then Joe seconded that one. And then the second motion, Joe made a motion to recommend the return to competition for lacrosse and soccer with the addition of the safeguards discussed in this meeting. Is that good? Okay, thank you.
Joe, do you have any additional comments, Joe?
No, I'm good. I just got it in all the voting. I got
Okay.
it all fired up.
Any other board member comments? I don't see any other hands. Oh, Rick.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure Rick Valdez has the understanding of what the soccer and lacrosse additional language was. I believe that would, just to give him some direction, it referred to the possibility that if COVID numbers started increasing in school and things like that, that we may have to readdress this, and there's a risk out there of opening but having to close if there are issues. Something like that? Is that what's going to be added to some language somewhere?
Yeah, yes, sir. So the last sentence of the first paragraph in the current protocol, it says these guidelines are subject to update and plans may be required to be revised as appropriate. We put that in there for this reason. pretty much saying that if the numbers begin to rise, we may have to revise these plans, and we may have to go back to social distancing and doing practice. So we will just add another line there to be very clear so that people understand that if these numbers begin to go in the wrong direction, or if we're experiencing, outbreaks or so on and so forth, leagues will be suspended.
Okay, thanks.
Joe, since you made the motion, you comfortable with those comments regarding the additional language?
That sounded good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I don't see any other additional hands up. If there's no other, are there any communications, activities, staff member comments?
If you don't mind, I'd just like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation once again for working with us as closely as you do. I know you're taking time out of your day. Very much appreciate that. This is something that the community has been asking us for. So thank you on behalf of not just county staff, but also the community, and helping guide us toward what we think is as safe a plan as we can make it. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
I would just like to concur with Greg. Really do appreciate you guys. This really gives us the cover that we need going forward, and the confirmation when we make decisions, knowing that we got the support of the board. And I really do appreciate these special meetings that we have to call. You guys taking time out of your day to sit here and listen to us and weigh in and help us make good decisions and good recommendations. And again, just like to say thank you. And Harold, Rick, Shant, and Joe, I think this is my first time getting a chance to welcome you guys formally. Rick, it took a long time for me to get used to seeing you without Dr. Garrity. And now it's kind of weird seeing Janet without you. So, but it's great seeing you back on the board. Back here in the board.
And and I have to say, Dexter, it's the first time I've seen you with a beard. I like it.
That makes two.
Surprised you recognize me with my quarantine beard as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
One quick thing, Rick.
Yeah.
You said, is the next discussion going to be football? Is there other sports you're looking at for? What are we expecting to be the next ones up, and how long before you think we'll have that discussion?
We're looking at cheerleading right now, because we have received requests for cheerleading, and cheerleading is something that I feel we can establish some guidelines and protocols on. Essentially, they will probably be required to wear a face mask the whole time they're cheering. But we are reviewing that right now. So that may be the next one. The last one will be football. I think that covers all the sports that we currently have partners that are providing on our facilities. If anything else comes up, I'll definitely let you guys know.
Wonderful. All right. If no one else has any comments or questions, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and thanks everyone for their time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Take care.
Good
Thanks,
afternoon.
everybody.
Joe, enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.